Well,
This is
Busy?
my relaxed stance.
So, not too bad.
1 minute.
Sick.
It's all about us shutting you guys down today.
Yes.
1 minute.
Yes, 1 minute. Look, I still have my uniform on.
Andy, me, Dave's I swear it's 80. Not about the head.
Jim, I still had my uniform on. He didn't hear me.
I don't think so.
I don't care.
Shut down.
See that? Sorry? I still have my uniform on. You still
There's from the
have your uniform to tape
BJRY,
it.
which is the
Yeah,
railroad that goes over there.
Unless it was on the other end, maybe.
I took off my green.
I don't know.
Ready.
Wow.
Okay, good evening, everyone. This is the Mayor's Agenda, City of Hannibal official public hearing, Tuesday, November 2nd, 2021, 6:30 p.m. Council Chambers. We'll call this meeting to order. Lisa Pack, City Manager, please proceed.
Yes, for this public hearing, the proposed property is 3700 Palmyra Road, changing the zoning from E commercial to B multiple family, which is consistent with other allowable uses surrounding it. All the necessary paperwork has been turned in and the advertisements have been made consistent with the requirements of the public hearing, and notification was made to the neighbors. If there's anybody for public comments,
Okay.
for or against.
Anyone present here that wishes to speak for or against the rezoning of 3700 Palmyra Road? This is the time. Sure, if,
You come forward and state their name.
okay. Are you able, could you come up to the podium there so we can get you on the microphone? Go ahead. Now I get to talk all day up here. Come on. Well,
I'm
and
the
what's your name?
secretary of the Quail Ridge Condo Association.
What's your name?
Dee Wright,
D. Wright. Okay.
Dolores Ann Wright.
Good evening.
Thank you. This is Iris Oss, and she is the president of the board of our association. I'm the secretary. We're just questioning what kind of facility this is going to be. I mean, it's housing.
Triplex and duplex buildings. Mike, do you have anything to add? Mike's the building inspector.
Okay. Our question is, I mean, is this open to the public, or is this low income?
No, it's just regular housing.
The other question we had was, it's right adjacent to our property. We're wondering if they're going to put up any kind of fence. So there won't be anything separating our building.
Is there anything now separating?
Well, there's kind of a tree line, and that's been that's another issue. They're not maintaining. Their trees are growing more and more on our property, and our people that we have mowing our grass, it's harder for them to do that. They're not maintaining it very well. So
That would certainly be something you could bring up to the new owners of the property.
what?
The new owners of the property.
Oh, okay. Well, we don't know who they are.
Shad Terrell?
Carol?
Terrell.
Terrell.
He does. Yeah.
He needs to contact our association. Iris Oz is the president.
Yeah. And he'd be glad to sit down, I'm sure, and speak with you and kind of go over what
Okay.
his plans are.
Well, we've been wondering, about what kind of facilities going up there, and
And I'll be honest, as far as
A
from the
privacy fee?
city standpoint, constitutionally, we're not allowed to tell people, well, you can't put this here and you can't. The only thing we can do is make sure that they abide by the zoning of that property.
oh, okay.
Well,
We know when the housing went in, what's the name of that?
I know where you mean.
Chloe Apartments. Okay, they were on the other side, and we got to go to a situation on that. And they did put up even though there's a ravine in between us, quite a distance, they did put an 8-foot privacy fence
Yeah.
behind their
Kind of a white
buildings.
fence down through there, it seems like. A white privacy fence.
Well, it was
way
not
between
white,
us.
it was a wooden.
Wooden one?
Yeah, wooden privacy fence. So we were just wondering if there would be anything like
And-
that.
I
And
would
you-
recommend that you bring that up to the developer, and they may be very happy to work with you
Okay.
on that.
Because
Well, they might want one too in the long
Right.
run.
They may
I mean,
want one.
They might not want us as neighbors, you know?
well, and then they may not want to have to deal with the tree issues
Yeah.
going on their side either. So it's,
Okay.
I've always
Well,
found
if
that
he
open
can call
discussion's
Iris,
the
we'll
best.
talk to them about it.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay.
All
I'll
right.
give him your number.
Yeah, I was going to say, make sure and give Mike your number.
That guy right back there that kind of has a Santa beard, but it's not turned white yet.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Is there
don't say it publicly.
anyone else who wishes to speak for or against the zoning? Okay. Hearing none from council, none from public. I'll go ahead and adjourn this public hearing. We'll start the next one at 6:45.
My birthday.
Hey,
Okay, start
Never fixed
recording.
it.
so you tell me, Cha-Cha?
Yep.
All right, yes, dear. All right, this is the Mayor's Agenda, City of Hannibal official public hearing, Tuesday, November 2nd, 2021, 6:45 PM, the council chambers. Call this public hearing to order. Lisa Peck, City Manager, proceed.
Good evening. This public hearing is for a code amendment to Chapter 32 zoning, Article 5, District B, multiple resident district, adding galleries to the definition of allowed uses.
Council, we have had the opportunity to see this. Is there any questions from the council at this time?
This is still the same space requirement.
At the addition that we had discussed at the planning and zoning meeting of the 80%.
80%, yeah.
The 80% dedicated to 80% of sales coming from art.
Any other questions or discussion?
Everybody was good with that, planning and zoning.
This time, if there's anyone from the public who wishes to speak for or against the code amendment. Seeing none, hearing none. And there's no further comments from council. I'll go ahead and call this public hearing to a close. Now we have recess till 7.
I damn near push that button almost every time I get up.
I want to go outside and play.
Give us recess. I have that one, but I'm still doing notes, so that's why it's hard.
Oh,
I don't even know where mine is.
I don't have one.
I don't know.
Just like Okay, good evening, everyone. This is the Mayor's Agenda, City of Hannibal Official Council Agenda of Tuesday, November 2nd, 2021. Council Chambers, 7 p.m. I'd ask the clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Franke,
Yes.
Mayor Hark,
Here.
Councilmembers Bowen,
Here.
Welch,
Here.
Beach, McCoy,
Here.
and Mayor Pro Tem Dobson.
Here.
Okay, there being a quorum, I'd call this meeting to order. Mayor Pro Tem Dobson, we do the invocation, please.
Heavenly Father, in our hearts we plan our course, but we pray that you establish our steps. I pray that we seek you for advice. Let us make decisions based upon what we know, but let us act based upon your wisdom. Please guide us, Lord. We place this meeting in your hands. We place our hearts and our minds in your hands so that you may direct us. Amen.
Amen.
Mr. Piper, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council, at this time, I'd ask for a motion
So
to...
you gotta,
Okay. Clerk was talking.
Yeah,
And when the clerk talks, you listen, right?
that's right.
At this time, I would ask for a motion to excuse Councilman Veach from this evening's proceedings.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Now requesting a motion to approve the agenda as it has been posted this Tuesday, November 2nd.
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion is second. Any discussion over the agenda items? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The motion's carried. Okay, Council, at this time, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the minutes of the closed session council meetings of November 20th, 2018, March 17th, 2020, July 6th, 2021, the closed session council meeting of September 21st, 2021, closed session council meeting of October 5th, 2021, the special called council meeting of October 12th, 2021, and the regularly scheduled council meeting of October 19th, 2021.
Motion.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion?
Read those back. I'm just kidding.
no, he'll make me do that.
I'm just kidding.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Now requesting a motion to approve payroll and claims for the second half of October of 2021.
I move.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion over payroll and claims? And all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. First item on the agenda is Mr. James Lemon, our city attorney, who was early tonight.
Mayor, as the council knows, at the last meeting, we had discussed some possible language for a ballot initiative. I did go ahead and draft that. I have proposed a sample to you all. I asked the clerk, and I believe she did provide that to all of you in advance, asked if anyone had any suggestions, concerns. They should let me know. I have heard from no one, but I am, of course, ready for questions if any council person wants to talk about that.
Okay.
I believe that storm and sanitary sewerage should be removed from the initiative, as that would be covered by the Board of Public Works in their referendum.
I would like to keep them in, respect that. What if that referendum fails and we still have huge projects to fix?
And the public's going to look like we're going in them twice.
I don't necessarily agree, but I think your concerns.
Do you have any more?
Let's see.
I'm not sure if it should be removed or left in because, ultimately, curbs and gutters are part of this stormwater as well. Not real sure one way or the other, but
Reading it, including without limitation, streets, gutters, sidewalks, flood protection, levee improvements, levee equipment. I'm storm and sanitary sewerage. Emergency infrastructure projects, demolition projects related to infrastructure.
James, I have a legal question, I guess. If something is left out, but it still fits under the definition of infrastructure,
Correct.
can it still be pursued?
Sure.
Absolutely. No pride of ownership. I stole that language from Angel, and that is pretty much the language that we tried to have in the explanatory section of the last ballot initiative, but they ruled that that was not appropriate to include in it. So, upon advice of other counsel, we have included it as part of the ballot language to make sure that it would be there. So, I can't take a position saying, well, I drafted it and it means blah, blah, blah. But I will say that, in my opinion, if you don't want this tax to be able to be used for sewer, you are going to have me change the language to specifically state that. Because the language as drafted says without limitation, and it lists a bunch of examples, but my interpretation of that language would be that the city could use that tax for anything which is truly a capital improvement. It lists all those things merely as an example of the types of things. I'm not trying to argue with whether it should be in there or not. I just want to make clear, if you all don't want the ability of this tax to be used for sewer, I would need to do some new drafting, more so than just taking those two phrases out.
Emergency infrastructure project would include stormwater sewers.
Correct.
With removing that.
And Mayor Pro Tem, I'm not arguing with you. I just want to make sure I understand what the council wants, because that's why I brought it back as language and why we had talked about it that way, to give you all an opportunity to talk, make sure I know exactly what you want, so I draw it up the right way.
My approach is that you put this in front of the public in April, and then they're going to say in November, when the Board of Public Works bring theirs on, well, we just voted for this.
I wouldn't mind taking that particular phrase out, because that way we absolutely gave the board direction to create a utility for that. So really no point.
Can I ask a question, Mayor?
By all means.
It sounds to me like the general consensus is that language is okay so long as I would remove those phrases. I'm either hearing yes, remove it, or not opposing it.
Right.
So my question would be, at this point, would you like me to also draft the ordinances and other required documents that would be necessary in order for us to put this proposed ballot language on the ballot for vote, or is that something you all still want to talk about? Because
I have a
don't
couple
wanna run out
things
of time.
before we make any motions or anything. Why did we go with 5 years? Can we go with 7? Is that better? I think 5's too short. If I'm okay with a sunset, if that's what everybody believes will pass. I just don't think 5 is enough time to have a whole nother election in 5 years to do it, but that's just me. And it also says December 31st of 22. Why such a long time from the election?
Because that's what the statute requires. On this type of tax, you always have to wait until basically January 1 of the next year before you can start collecting the tax.
Gotcha. I didn't know if it would be our year, like in July when it flips over. I didn't know if it would.
I think the statute's pretty clear that we have to wait till the January 1 date, and there's some language in there, and I apologize, I probably should have provided that language for you guys to take a look at, but that's my reading of it. I think we do have to wait till
I had
January
it in
1.
the last time, remember, because I looked that statute up. I
Right.
didn't bring it with me
And
this
I
time, but-
apologize, Councilman, I should have included that in the material I gave you guys, but.
Okay. Next, if we had like a major problem at City Hall or like HPD or something, like let's say a car crashed into something, would this could this possibly cover it? Or if we had some emergency problem like that, or
It-
if,
It could be used for repair of damaged infrastructure.
okay,
So in other words, if a building was damaged,
like the library or something, you know. or
you could use it
whichever.
for that. If you're talking about damage to the vehicle, probably not. But you know, as long as we're repairing the infrastructure, if it tore down power lines, you know, something that needed to be dealt with immediately, and for some reason, you know, there weren't other funds to do it, yes, I believe this tax, which is set off in a separate fund, could be used to both build infrastructure and also repair infrastructure.
I like Alan's point about the 7 years instead of 5 years. I mean, sunset's great. That's what we think it's going to take to get this passed. But a sunset doesn't mean we have to go as short as possible. And I'm not saying 5 as short as possible, but it is not a large time frame. So I feel good with 7. I'll still be in my 30s.
I kind of like the 5. You know, if the citizens don't like this, after 5 years, they have the option to not renew it. I realize this is really good for our city to actually have this tax. It makes our infrastructure able to be rebuilt and maintained. But I think what a lot of kickback is people don't want a long-term commitment to something that they have not ever seen done before.
We don't give them a reason to not like 7 years.
To Councilman Welch's point, I've gotten feedback from 2 constituents over the last week and a half. The only feedback that I got was about the sunset and the 5-year. And they both were, we can work with that. That puts pressure on us to get something done. If we weren't going to be coming with the Board of Public Works initiative following election cycle, I would say, yeah, let's go for 7. But we're trying to do what's best for everybody financially and sell both of them. And I think this is going to help be a better sell.
And the explanatory will be at the ballot this time? Or at the polling station?
That language is part of the ballot. That's why I drafted it as ballot language and wanted to let you all take a look at it. That's what the voters would see, is that language there.
Is there anything extra we would put with it, I guess? Or no?
I can.
Who says we can't, I guess?
No, nobody says we can't. If this was a state election, the rules are a little different. With things that are a statewide ballot initiative, they are very, very restrictive regarding the language that you can use. In a municipal election, a county election, it is a lot more broad, and you can put descriptors in there. And I did some research on the case law. There was one case, for instance, where they put in a bunch of extra language, and it was things like, whereas there haven't been any improvements made to this type of thing in the last 60 years, and blah, 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 blah. And some taxpayers sued, and ultimately the court said, well, it was reasonably related to the ballot issue, and so we think it was okay to put it in there. There's no hard and fast rule that says you may put in these things, you may not put in those things. My reading of that case and a couple of other cases I reviewed would be that it needs to be reasonably related to the ballot issue, but so long as it is, it can actually be in the ballot language, and this does not have to be in a separate description. So if there are things that you all don't like, I can tweak and adjust this, and you know, I can take another stab at it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. We had a fairly short period of time for me to get this back and get it on the agenda, so I drafted it fairly quickly. By no means am I trying to say, no, this is the best thing I've ever done. You guys can't change this, because obviously, number one, you can change anything. But number two, if there are things that you all feel like need to be said or things that we need to tweak, we can do it. And, you know, if you want to direct me to come back to the drawing board, if you all want to think about it and email it, or if you want to talk about it tonight, however you all want to do it, it's whatever timeline. I know we have some time constraints. Angel, how soon do we have to get the whole thing on the
December.
I have to have final certification to county for January the 25th, which
Okay.
means we have
So we've got
another meeting or so that we could-
three more meetings that we'd have to, well, except it's got to be done by ordinance. So we've
Yes.
really only got one more meeting before we need to start voting on it.
I've got a minor tweak. I guess it's a question and suggestion. There's great language in here about what it can be used for and that it will go into a special trust, a special account. Can we add language saying what it can't be used on? I'm not trying to create a specific can't be used on, but just can't be used on anything but infrastructure.
Yeah, I think that would, within the case law that I reviewed, I think that would be a reasonable statement. Limiting language would be appropriate also.
I think that would strengthen this as a
Safeguard.
chance to pass, my opinion.
I like that suggestion and the removal of the stormwater mention,
Okay?
stormwater and sanitary.
Okay. And in regards to the termination date, and I'm not trying to start a fight, but are we looking at 5 or are we looking at 7?
Looks like we're looking at 5.
Okay.
Can you say something?
And
Why not?
Okay, I would just caution you all to think about the delays that are being caused by COVID. So if we have a truck that breaks down, I mean, you're talking about significant, some kind of vehicle that breaks down, you're talking about maybe a significant lead time. So we wouldn't necessarily be able to do what we said we were going to do because our equipment wouldn't be working because of the computer chip thing, and also some materials that would be in the construction or rehab are significantly delayed. So that is the only thing that I'd like to throw out there for your consideration.
Is there a financial mechanism where we can prepay? If that were a case.
well, and I think that, here's the thing. Regardless of whether this tax is still in effect or not, the fund, you don't have to use the money while the tax is in effect. But I think the city manager's point would be that part of the idea was that you want to be able to show the people that you're going to get it done in order that they feel as if it was appropriate for you to do the tax. And I think that's her point. However, I will say, and I am by no means am I trying to hold myself out as a decision maker, et cetera, but I would want to suggest to you, based on what I've heard from people and what I see from the voters, I think the 5-year is probably a good idea, especially since this is the first time you've ever done this. If it goes really well and et cetera, I think the people would probably be a lot more willing to say we would extend that at a later date, but I have heard some pushback about the idea of, well, how long is this going to last and what is this about, et cetera, et cetera.
I just like the most things in our control as we can possibly have, and COVID delays or not.
Okay, so basically, for a summary, we're looking at the removal of the language, stormwater and sewer,
Right?
and staying with the 5,
Right?
and
Inserting limiting language.
limiting language, which is a safeguard when the voter looks at it and says, oh, I know this is what's going to be used for, and they're not going to throw something out there, put up a statue. Something.
Okay.
I know that's, again,
Or salaries or something like that.
right, or,
Okay.
That kind of thing.
All right.
and
I will, Mayor, my suggestion would be I will draft new proposed language, and I will provide that to the city clerk so that she can provide it to the council and provide it in your packet. And that way also, if the public wants to see it, they'll have an opportunity to see it in advance also. My only other question then is, do you want to do that solely at the next meeting, or do you want me to also work on the ordinance that would be required to put the language on the ballot?
Yes.
So that we can present, if I get it right, you all can vote on it. I'm not making any guarantees, but that would give you all the opportunity to vote on all of it at once at the next meeting, and wouldn't have us possibly running up against the deadline. be my suggestion.
Yes.
So do you want more than 48 hours this time? Because I think that's what we gave you
That's
last
what
week.
we gave you last time.
You gave me 48 hours, but I told you I could do it, so it was on me if I didn't. But yeah, that'd be great. So I will go ahead and work on that.
Thank you.
Mayor, I think that's all I had.
Wonderful. Thank you, James. Appreciate it. And the quick return around to you. Lisa, city manager.
Yes, so before you now is related to the public hearing that we had earlier. It's the rezoning of 3700 Palmyra Road from E-commercial to B multifamily. This is for the triplex and duplex buildings. Anyone has any questions? Planning and zoning voted to pass this along with the request, with the recommendation of passing.
That'll be Bill 21034 to follow. Next item.
The next item is also related to a public hearing that we had this evening. Code Amendment, Chapter 32, Zoning, Article 5, District B, multiple residence district, adding galleries, and so that's that definition where 80% of the sales would have to be derived from the sale of art.
That will be Bill 21033 to follow unless there's any questions. Okay. Next item.
Next item is an appointment of Andrew Wickstrom as an alternate for the Board of Adjustment for a term to expire May 2026.
It's just a first reading next meeting.
Is an alternate a name for a member of that board, or is an alternate an alternate?
It's an alternate.
Okay. I just didn't know we did that, which is why I'm asking.
Yeah, because they don't have planned meetings, then you have to have alternates because there's no scheduled meeting people can schedule around.
Right. Next item.
Acquisition, acceptance of property, portion of Shin Lane. So I done up a brief memo. There's a portion, and I'm going to let Andy talk about this more, but there's a portion of Shin Lane that apparently did not show up very well on the map that I sent you all, that we own everything around, but it's owned by the county. It's out by the hospital, and for maintenance reasons, it's less than a quarter of a mile. And for maintenance reasons, it doesn't make sense for the county to own and maintain that when we do the rest. And I'll let Andy speak more on this.
Answer any questions. Basically, it's just that last portion of Shin Lane down by Moberly area from MM, about 600 feet up. The city already maintains the rest of Shin Lane. It is scheduled to be repaved this year. We've already, a few years ago, fixed a major portion of it anyways at MM where the turn lane was. So it's just one of those things with the city and the county. We're trying to clear some of these issues up. That front part is bordered by city property on both sides, Moberly area and the house is city. There's a small portion of Gentry Farm that's still county, but maybe someday city, and the rest would be city. So just for snow plowing and maintenance, it's.
And you're driving over it anyway, going from one piece to another.
Right.
600 some odd feet. Yeah. Okay. Is there any
We'll be bringing back, James has already
descriptive?
Mayor, and just to clarify a couple of points, the county has got, it's not an actual ownership, they've got a right-of-way only, and so what I did was prepared some proposed language for a right-of-way transfer, but they haven't told us yet whether I got it right. So, of course, I'm sure it's fabulous, but it may require some tweaking or adjustment depending upon what their legal counsel says. So that's why we didn't have an actual document on for today.
But we didn't want to just bring you an actual document and have you not have heard anything about it
Right.
previous.
That's all. Well then, Angel Sabroni, our city clerk.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I have one item this evening, and it relates to the city depository banking services. Requests for proposals for all city entities, banking services were solicited as defined in the city charter, as the existing agreement between the city and F&M Bank was due to expire at the end of November. 2 local banking institutions submitted proposals, both meeting the criteria defined in the charter and our request for proposals, with 2 declinations. F&M Bank and Trust Company and Home Bank provided the responsive proposals. The declinations were received from Commerce Bank and H&B Bank. Both responsive proposals were qualified and able to offer the city with services needed, including everything in the proposals. However, F&M Bank and Trust Company was able to provide all banking services at no cost and provide a more competitive interest rate. The Banking RFP Committee, which was comprised of myself and Paul Drenhell with the Board of Public Works, and Finance Director, our new Finance Director, Wesley Metz, coming in on the end, and Phyllis Nelson, City Collector, we reviewed the proposals. Also held a mandatory meeting for all of those who submitted the proposals to go over any questions and address anything. And it would be the recommendation of the committee to award a 2-year banking depository agreement with an option for automatic renewal for 3 additional 1-year consecutive terms between the city and F&M Bank. And we've been pleased with their services. And again, they were able to provide a better interest rate and no cost. And there will be a resolution to follow. Any questions?
It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, Phyllis Nelson, City Collector, and Wesley Metz, Finance Director. All together?
Come on up, Wes.
Oh, no. We all get to, this is a team, we all get to share in this.
Phyllis knows more about it than I do, so I'm going to let her do the talking.
Just because I'm old. Yes. Good evening. On October 19th, council awarded the bid for the Moswin radio system. And so we are presenting the budget resolution to accommodate that. What we're requesting is 911 Marion and 911 Rawls are both contributing to it, $200,000 total. And then the grant and the city's balance of $225,033.39. We are asking to borrow short-term loan from the revolving loan account. And that is what this resolution allows. So that is resolution 2380-21 to follow. Any questions?
I would have to pretend to know more than you do to ask a question, so I'm not going to ask any questions.
Then he could have talked the whole thing, right? I'm louder, though.
Oh, okay.
See, I didn't even need the microphone.
Council, any questions at this time? Okay, thank you very much. Andy Dorian, Director of Central Services, you're back on.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Actually, I got 2 items tonight. The first item is the bid award approval for the sale of city-owned surplus property. We recently opened bids for the sale of our 2002 Kubota tractor. We had several bids with a high bid from the Johan Farms of $17,503.26. So we recommend
Is
sale
that
to
a
you.
pretty big tractor?
It's a pretty good sized tractor.
Okay.
Yeah.
100 horse tractor. Okay, is there a motion to approve the
Second.
motion to second? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. And you said you had
The
another
mayor
one?
looks puzzled on this one.
Yes, because there's a,
I
So,
don't see anything listed, yeah.
I just got a text from our new tourism director's husband, and he wanted me to embarrass her and let everyone know that it is her birthday. And to say happy birthday and in front of everyone. So,
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Megan. Happy birthday to you.
that is all I have.
Better have that in the minutes. It better be-
It will be. Got it.
Bradford Charles
right.
It does look fantastic.
Yes, Andy, I was puzzled. Thank you.
Sorry. I'm like, you don't do that to me.
Okay, council, we have before us Resolution 2379-21. I need a motion to have the clerk read this resolution, call the roll for adoption.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Resolution number 2379-21, a resolution of the City of Hannibal authorizing the mayor to execute a banking depository services agreement between the City of Hannibal and F&M Bank and Trust Company for the purpose of providing bank depository and related services to the City of Hannibal and all covered entities. Councilmember Franke?
Yes.
Mayor Hark?
Yes.
Councilmembers Bowen?
Yes.
Welch?
Yes.
McCoy?
Yes.
And Mayor Pro Tem Dobson.
Yes.
I declare Resolution 2379-21 duly approved and adopted on this day. We now have Resolution 2380-21. I need a motion to have the clerk read this resolution, call the roll for adoption.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion's carried.
Resolution number 2380-21, a resolution of the City of Hannibal amending the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget, number one, to recognize additional revenues and expenditures relative to the United States Department of Agriculture Moswin Radio Grant Project. Councilmember Franke? Mayor Hark?
Yes.
Councilmembers Bowen?
Yes.
Welch?
Yes.
McCoy?
Yes.
And Mayor Pro Tem Dobson.
Yes.
I declare Resolution 2380-21 duly approved and adopted on this day. We now have before us Bill number 21-032. I need a motion to have the clerk give this bill a second and final reading.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Bill number 21-032, an ordinance of the City of Hannibal authorizing the mayor to execute a $155,546 state block grant agreement between the City of Hannibal and Missouri Highways Commission for funding the airport renovation runway lighting at the Hannibal Regional Airport. Second and final reading. Councilmember Franke?
Yes.
Mayor Hark?
Yes.
Councilmembers Bowen?
Yes.
Welch?
Yes.
McCoy?
Yes.
And Mayor Pro Tem Dobson.
Yes.
Declare Bill number 21-032 duly approved and adopted on this day. We now have Bill number 21-033. I need a motion to have the clerk give this bill a first reading.
So moved.
Second.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I'll actually do that.
Got it.
With motion is second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Bill number 21-033, an ordinance of the City of Hannibal amending Chapter 32 zoning, Article 5, District B, Multiple Residence District, adding galleries to allowed uses of the City of Hannibal Code of Ordinances. First reading.
Okay, council, we now have Bill number 21-034. I need a motion to have the clerk give this bill a first reading.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Bill number 21-034, an ordinance rezoning 3700 Palmyra Road and City of Hannibal, Marion County, Missouri, from E commercial to B multiple family and amending the city's zoning map accordingly. First reading.
Okay, council, at this time, been asked to go into closed session in accordance with RSMO 610-021. However, paragraphs 12 as one item is no longer being presented in closed session, so subparagraph 3 and 13 are not applicable. So we'll be going in under subparagraph 12, admitting myself, council, city manager, city attorney, city clerk, Corey. You should be good with those. Andy, you escaped this evening. So, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Councilmember Franke?
Yes.
Mayor Hark?
Yes.
Councilmembers Bowen?
Yes.
Welch?
Yes.
McCoy?
Yes.
And Dobson.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone, for attending this evening.
Stop recording.